Aloha and welcome back to Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour. If you're new to the channel, we focus on vintage tiki cocktails and the culture that surrounds it. This isn't simply a how-to show, this is a evening hangout featuring a lot of my friends from the pinup, vintage, burlesque scenes, the hot rod scenes, the punk rock scenes. Since it's a whole new year, I want to try something different. This episode is about 15 things that I think you should have if you want to get into home tiki bartending. Number 10 is gonna blow your mind. Let's go. Okay, I had to move over here because there's literally a torrential downpour going on just outside of the Breezeway, and the Breezeway is a leaky ass tiki hut, so the main bar is getting flooded right now. And if you can hear a bunch of water, there's like a crazy storm going on. So we're gonna do it right here. The first thing I would recommend if you want to start your own home tiki bar, books. I know, that sounds so boring. You go, dude, books? Books are for nerds. I'm just kidding. But there are some really informative, really fun books that have been put out by friends of mine and friends of the tiki community. The one that started it all for me was this one, BEACHBUM Berry's Grog Log. And you can see I have beat this thing to hell. I've probably been mixing cocktails out of this book since 1998. It was written by a guy named BEACHBUM Berry who was doing tiki drinks before any of us knew anything about rum. Like, any of us knew anything about rum. He is the guy that brought tiki drinks back. And it's spiral bound. It was literally meant to lay flat on your bar top. This is a great resource. If you can get it, this is a great one. The two books that you really need if you're sincerely trying to get into home tiki bartending are Martin Cate's SMUGGLER'S COVE and a book called Minimalist Tiki. What I found interesting about this book is that they get you making cocktails quickly with an affordable amount of ingredients. My bass player Shorty said to me, he was like, yeah, I'd love to make the cocktails that you make on your show, but I don't have $1,000 to spend on each drink. And it's like, yeah, if you were starting out fresh, it seems really expensive to buy all the ingredients to get you up to speed. This book does a great job of telling you what ingredients you need and how many cocktails they'll be used in. So, invaluable resource. But the book that I would say arguably does the best version of this whole thing is Martin Cate's SMUGGLER'S COVE. Martin goes deep into the different types of rums. In this book, he goes beyond tiki cocktails and he goes into like music in the scene. He goes into people who create art for the scene, the best tiki bars and home bars and all kinds of stuff. This book is amazing. Number 2 on the list, of course, if you're gonna have a home tiki bar, you need rum. Rum is the spirit of tiki. Now, Hamilton Rum has been incredibly great to the Breezeway Cocktail Hour. Ed Hamilton's a great guy. Coincidentally, he makes like the best rums. Hamilton rums, if they are available to you, are a great place to start. With the addition of that, Bacardi 8 is a great gold Puerto Rican rum. A lot of cocktails call for gold Puerto Rican rums. You can get almost all the tiki cocktails done just with Hamilton rums. If you're talking about daiquiris, Hamilton White Stash is great for daiquiris. If you're talking about a good mixing rum, Hamilton Pot Still Black is great for mixing because a lot of cocktails call for a dark Jamaican rum. Now, if you can't find Hamilton Pot Still Black, look at Karuba. Karuba is really good. Also, a lot of tiki cocktails called for a 151 Demerara. For a long time, there wasn't a 151 Demerara available. Ed Hamilton brought it back, actually with Lemon Heart 151, and then he ended up creating his own. And this is an incredible 151 Demerara. This is a good way to build up your library, and you can get almost all the tiki cocktails done just by staying on this brand. But diversity in rum is fun too, so collect. If you can collect, if you can afford to collect, because it gets expensive. All right, number 3, syrups. Now, BG Reynolds doesn't pay me to endorse their stuff, but I did request this stuff, and Blair BG was kind enough to send it to me. But I wouldn't ask for something if I didn't think it was worthy of me using. But I'm all about fresh ingredients, quality ingredients, making the best possible cocktails that you can. I would say that there are a couple of syrups on here that you don't necessarily have to buy. You could make yourself, but if you don't want to make them yourself, man, buy them straight from BG because it's so easy just to purchase them and get going. Order these syrups here and you'll be on your way to making incredible tiki cocktails. Now, if you're gonna make your own syrups, I'd recommend these bottles. These bottles have like a great clasp thing to them. It's like this airtight seal. And the other great thing about these bottles is that if you have a Sharpie, you can write on the top, honey syrup, cinnamon syrup, this is rich honey syrup over here, and my Demerara sugar syrup. They're inexpensive, they're an attractive way to store syrups. Also, this little dropper right here is what I keep my absinthe or my Pernod in. You can also find this on Amazon, but I will certainly link to all of these. That's number 4. All right, for number 5, this might seem obvious, but juice squeezers. You can squeeze limes by hand like they did at La Floridita in Havana, Cuba, but we have technology now. And this is the squeezer they use at Trader Vic's in the 1950s and 60s. It doesn't work all that well, and I can't imagine how many ounces of lime juice, probably gallons of lime juice, Vic lost over the years using something like this. Technology now has devices with these geared systems here, and having so many pinup models and different people on the cocktail show who aren't nearly as strong as I am, that's stupid, who aren't nearly as strong as people like McBiff, this geared option really makes squeezing limes easy. And then when you get into bigger things like grapefruits or even oranges, they have one for that. And it's also geared. I would recommend these squeezers over just about anything else. I know they also have those big container squeezers where you squeeze them and then it pours out of a little spout. Those are great as well. This is my personal preference. Get a good squeezer. You can find them on Amazon. I will link them below. Number 6 on the list are measuring devices, I guess you would call them. Now, like a lot of people love these Japanese style, I think they're called Japanese style jiggers, but there's a whole learning curve to these things. Like you really kind of have to know where everything is, and let's see, that one has 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, and then 1.5 ounces, and I guess maybe the top is 2. Yeah, I'm probably look like an idiot talking about these things, but if you want to look fancy, learn to use these. If you want to be like me and just read these things here, that works too. And it's super simple. I love this particular jigger from OXO. OXO? But this one has tablespoons. It also has ounces. That's where we're going to spend most of our time. Now this one goes all the way down from 1/4 ounce all the way up to 2 ounces. So it really covers the whole spectrum in one device. You probably need about 2 of these things in order to do the same thing as this thing. You will look much fancier using one of these. You make your own choice. This is also available on Amazon. You can get it now. You can get it in our affiliate links in the description below. I'll learn to use these eventually, but talk about simple. Number 7 on the list of things that I think you need for your home tiki bar are shakers. Now, a lot of Trader Vic's cocktails require shaking. A lot of Don the Beachcomber and Mariano Liquidini cocktails call for a Hamilton Beach Topdown Mixer. But you're gonna need a shaker. Shakers are great for daiquiris, they're great for Mai Tais. This is a cobbler shaker here. Whoa. The top comes off so you can put ice in there and the cocktail. You put that on, you shake it, and then this top part unscrews, and then there's a strainer built into it. In theory, it's a great idea. They tend to leak a little bit. Also, when they get cold, these things get impossible to get off. I think they look great. I think they're great for your back bar or display kind of thing, but I will always opt for the Boston style shaker. You will often find these things with glass or with steel, like 2 tins or a tin and glass. I opt for the glass specifically for the show so that you can see what I'm pouring into the glass. I would say that 2 tins are probably safer. I've heard horror stories about these things exploding, like the glass side breaking off and like causing a mess. But I love these so much because all it takes is a quick little snap, and then these things are on there, secure, airtight, and just a quick little tap, and they come right off. So get yourself a good shaker. All right, number 8 on the list, you're gonna need a knife. And while this Shun knife from Japan is probably overkill, our buddies on Ballistic Barbecue gave me this knife. I love it because it's well balanced, it's light, it's fairly short, so you can get in there and really control it. You know, it really doesn't take anything super fancy. You want something sharp because when you have something dull, you really have to work to cut fruit. That's when accidents happen. So, oh geez. So get yourself something nice, something short, because you don't want to have this giant butcher's knife that you're wielding around like a sword while you're trying to cut things like limes, lemons, oranges, and white grapefruit. Shun. A beautiful knife. Such a beautiful knife. Now I think number 9 is essential if you want to make true to form, vintage style tiki cocktails. The Hamilton Beach Mixer. This is my vintage 1941 Hamilton Beach Mixer number 33 in jadeite green. I Love this thing. Now I'm gonna link a more contemporary version in the description below. I've never used one of those before, but I do think that you need a top-down cocktail mixer. Trader Vic's cocktails were typically shaken. Don the Beachcomber's cocktails were typically mixed. Or, you know, I don't want to say blended because they weren't really blended so much as they were just mixed from the top down. Now I know when people see these, I know they think of like milkshakes or whatever, but for tiki cocktails, these are essential. And they're super simple. You just latch it on like that, pop it up, starts mixing. Usually it's just for like 6 to 8 seconds, and then you can pull it down and wait for the thing to stop spinning before you pull it all the way off, because I've done that before and it's a sloppy mess. Top-down mixer. Moving right along. All right, the moment you've been waiting for. Number 10 is ice. I know it sounds so insane. You go like, yeah, of course you need ice for tiki drinks, but you need specific ice for tiki drinks. You need crushed ice. And more specifically, if you can get a hold of pebble ice, then you're really talking. This machine, the Opal 2.0, was sent to me by one of our viewers, our buddy Luigi. This is not something I would have bought on my own because it's fairly expensive, but it is so invaluable. And I want to do a full review on this machine in probably, you know, a couple episodes or so. I think it's worthy of discussion. If you don't want to buy this, if you can't afford something like this, then go to your local Sonic drive-in fast food place and ask for a bag of ice. And they will sell you a bag of ice for like $2.50, $2.80, something like that. It's the perfect ice. And so once you have that, like, you're already making incredible cocktails. Let's see, this is the kind of ice that you are looking for. This pebble ice is like the stuff. If you can get a hold of a machine that makes you some pebble ice like this, or go to Sonic, they will set you right up with the perfect ice. But ice matters so much because, you know, early in the episodes, somebody in the comments was like, you're just gonna use dirty ice? Like, so dirty ice when you're bartending is like you shake a cocktail and you just pour it straight into the glass. That's considered dirty. Normally you wanna strain it into like new, clean ice. But that's for like craft cocktails. That's not for tiki cocktails. Tiki cocktails, you want the ice to be broken down a bit. You want water introduced into the cocktail. And so this smaller ice allows for more dissolution than like big chunks of ice. So this is the perfect ice for tiki cocktails. So either get the Opal, go to Sonic. Oh my God. There goes the power. This storm. Okay, the power's been restored. Number 11 is fruit. I know this sounds so dumb. By the way, it's all wet because it was getting rained on over in the main bar. I know this sounds dumb because you're like, yeah, of course you need fruit to make tiki cocktails, especially limes. Like, limes are the #1 fruit. But what I did years ago when I first moved in this house, I planted a lime tree. And for years and years, it was just a little bush and I'd get 1 lime or 2 limes, whatever. But now, every year I get like this full harvest, like a bountiful harvest of limes. I just planted an orange tree maybe 2 years ago. I know, you say just. That's how long it takes, kinda. So I'm excited to get more oranges. I don't have room for a lemon tree. Like, where am I gonna plant that? That's the problem, is these trees get gigantic. So if you have room for them, do it. You should totally do it. If you're serious about tiki cocktails, it's so much easier to go back to my tree and like pick a lime off the tree than to run to the store and spend $5 on 2 limes or 3 limes or 4, I don't know, however much limes cost. Same thing with mint. If you can grow your own mint, just be sure to contain it because mint will take off like wild bamboo. I guess you have to know that bamboo does that too. Grow as much stuff as you can, not for any reason other than you're gonna have the freshest stuff, you're gonna know where it comes from, and you'll have it on hand all the time. I don't know about pineapples. I tried to grow a pineapple once. They grow in like these weird like bushes, kind of prickly bushes. Couldn't do it, so no pineapples. These next 5 things, kind of ancillary. These are kind of things that I would recommend. You certainly do not need if you're gonna create your own tiki cocktails, but they're fun things. So let's jump into those. Straws. And you might be thinking, yeah, dude, you can just use whatever straws you want, and you totally can. I would just recommend straws from Surfside Sips. And yes, they do have an affiliate program with the show. So if you enter Breezeway in the coupon code upon checkout, you will get a little bit of a discount. The show will get a little bit of support. I gotta say that my favorite from Surfside Sips are the straws that emulate bamboo. Specifically, the green ones that are short for Mai Tais and stuff. And then like these natural colored ones for things like zombie glasses. These are the ones that seem the most kind of vintage to me, although I know that this was not a vintage thing. This was not a thing that happened in the 50s and 60s, but I do love the straws from Surfside Sips. Number 13 are garnishes. Yeah, I know everybody's seen the typical umbrella garnish, right? Looks like this little thing right here. There we go. And they look great in cocktails, and they're kind of like kitschy. But for years and years, people forgot about the hanging lantern garnishes. My buddy Greg from the Contigo Tiki Bar sourced them, or had them recreated. This is a vintage garnish that all but vanished. And then he started having them produced again. So if you're interested in hanging lantern garnishes from the Contigo Tiki Bar, find them on Etsy. And like I said, Tiki's all about presentation. It's all about escapism. So you put one of these in your cocktail and immediately your guests are gonna go, what in the world? And you're going the extra distance. Number 14 is glassware. Now my band, the Hula Girls, are on a record label called High Tide Recordings. They really focus on surf, exotica, kind of music that lives in the tiki space, but they also do incredible merchandising. They put out t-shirts and hats and all kinds of stuff. And usually you think, oh man, they're gonna, like, a record label is putting out clothing and accessories that's gonna look horrible. They have such a great eye and such great taste that everything they do is so amazing. And the glassware they've produced through High Tide Recordings has been just incredible. So if you're looking for glassware and you want to have something proper for tiki cocktails, go check out High Tide Recordings. Check out the Breezeway Cocktail Hour too to make sure that we're not offering anything. But High Tide Recordings is a great stop. Other than that, there's a lot of great vintage stuff out there, and that's where a lot of like the stuff that we use on the Breezeway Cocktail Hour is. And of course, last but not least, number 15 on the list, tiki mugs. Certainly not necessary to make incredible cocktails, but tiki mugs are fun. My favorite are vintage tiki mugs. This is from the Kona, Hawaii and Santa Ana, California. These coconut mugs from Trader Vic's are great for things like painkillers or cocktails with coconut in them. The Volcano Bowl is such a fun communal drink. You put 151 in the middle and light it on fire. And then rum barrels. There's so many different kinds of rum barrels. It's so fun to be able to drink cocktails in the glassware that they were intended to be served in. And of course, from Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour, this is the mug that we did. We had it commissioned by Shrunken Monkey in Florida. There are a few of these left, so if you're interested, I will put a link in the description below. And so I think that's about it. I think that's the list. These are 15 things that I thought are a good starting place if you want to start making tiki cocktails at home. Certainly, some of them you don't need, but especially the first 10, I would say are imperative. If you want to add to the list, do so in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going down there. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. This is what we do, vintage tiki cocktails and culture. There will be plenty more where this came from. Aloha.